Hey guys, it's Joe. Welcome back to the channel. I'm actually rather excited for today's small little episode, and really what we're trying to do is to review the VR1 Boost, excuse the wind a little bit, the VR1 Boost versus the regular VR1. You can see in the title, we're talking about the VR1 Boost, and this is not a VR1 Boost. This is a regular Boost, and I know that many of you who have followed this channel may be surprised by this. Cue sarcasm, please. Ultimately, but our VR1 Boost, or my VR1 Boost, you're going to be really surprised to hear this is actually in the shop. So I wish I could sit on that VR1 Boost and show you around it. We did get some video from the field when we were out there, which I'm going to go ahead and show you next. What I'd like to do is to go through the things that we like better about the Boost. There's a small list of those, and the things that we actually dislike about the Boost to help you make a decision for this next year's snow check on whether the Boost is right for you. With that being said, let's go ahead and flip over to some of the video that we got from being out in the woods. Actually, I'm going to go do a quick comparison right here in the woods. We've got about 2,500 miles on this Boost, and comparing it against a regular VR1 850. Mike's actually with us today. That's pretty nice. We have Mike with us. So Mike rode his VR1 850. Of course, I have a regular VR1 850, and I got this Boost this year to try out. And there's a few things I do like about this Boost this year. Is they got some new features to the gauge, and that's great and all, but I think that's just going to be a software download in the end. The fit and the finish of these panels is really nice this year. You have this little bit of kind of neoprene that sticks here that cuts down on vibration, which is really nice. And so those are a couple of things that I definitely like about the Boost. And honestly, you probably get a couple more miles per hour on this sled, but it's really not that noticeable. Now we'll go into the things that I probably dislike about it. I almost forgot, there is actually one really cool thing that Polaris did this year, and they've got a different drive system under primary clutch than going into the secondary clutch, which is awesome. And I don't know the full technical specs on it, but I can tell you the benefit to the user is you never have to adjust your belt. The engagement of that clutch is much easier, much smoother. It's not that, you know, rev up and you feel that hit, and then the machine takes off, you know that's not great for the belt. And so honestly, the new drive system, the new primary, secondary clutch systems are excellent on the new Boost. That is something I would say that Polaris absolutely got right for this year. And I'm sorry, I had so many negative things to say, I forgot to talk about that positive. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that I dislike about the Boost versus the regular VR1. To begin with, your underseat seat storage disappears because you have a battery here now. And these are Polarises, so you have to bring tools along. And there's no place then to put your tools beside your glove box, and there's very little storage then. This was a nice storage area then, obviously, for the regular VR1, but you lose that entirely because your battery is then there where you need to be putting your tools. The second thing I don't like about it is that it is a little bit heavier. And you may say, okay, what, 30 or 40 pounds or whatever it is definitely noticeable. Obviously, the VR1s are great for their handling. Adding that weight up front of this thing, you do lose a little bit of your handling along the way. The next thing I don't like about it is it did seem to run a little bit warmer, maybe by about 5 or 8 degrees, and it has a limp mode. Once you get to 165 on this machine on the Boost, it goes into a limp mode where it slows you down and you can't keep up with your buddies anymore, where the regular VR1 850 does not have this limp mode. This machine here used between about 9 to 20%, depending on the fill up, more fuel along the way. When we were both on it, I actually needed to get 2 additional gallons at the gas station. When I this morning was kind of taking it easy and Mike was on it, I still used more fuel than he did by about 10%, which is really, I don't know if it's because of spoiling the turbo or what it is, or maybe they're dumping more fuel into it even when you're off of it. Obviously, when you're on it and it's going to be pushing more fuel and more air into the motor, there's an obvious reason why I would use more, but to use it when you're kind of just lollygagging around, have additional fuel, it's hard to understand why. The next thing I'll tell you is weird about this is that on 2,000 miles, I got about 2,500 miles on it now, as I said. At 2,000 miles, the brake pads were completely gone. We had to go and find new brake pads, which was a little bit complicated to do, but we found brake pads. We were able to get it back on this machine and get it going. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really dislike about it. Oh, the price tag. It was quite a bit more expensive than the regular VR1. So at the end of the day, when I buy this Boost again, well, I really only got this Boost because when I want to compare it, number 2 is I wanted to go ahead and see if I would like it more than the VR1, the regular VR1. But that's all the deal I had allocations for was the Boost. I would tell you that after riding this thing on trail, and it's been only on trail, and obviously it's a trail sled, I would end up just sticking with the regular VR1. I don't think the extra money, the extra weight, I don't think it's worth it to have this boost. Obviously, then you're going to have more pressure on this motor along the way. It has a less of a warranty than you have with the regular VR1. So my verdict is, save yourself the money, take that and use it on two-stroke oil or whatever it is you want to buy. Maybe some KBC beers, that's always some good stuff. And don't put it towards this extra money for this sled.
Definitely not.
But kind of the two of the additional positives that I didn't mention while we were out in the woods and out in the snow is that it does have, or it does on the VR1 Boost, it does have this, the night blade lights has this sinister amber or something cool lighting effect that whenever you turn off the sled, the lights stay on for a little bit. Is it noticeable? Yeah. Is it pretty neat? Yeah, it's pretty quirky and neat. And guys at the gas station are always like, hey, what's cool about your lights? And so we did get a lot of, I would say, comments on those lights, including from us who were riding together in a group. And I guess the only positive that I would say out of the whole thing is that, yeah, it does, looking at my notes just to think about it, there's not that many positives, but it does pull a little bit harder. There's no doubt about it. When you want to get up on top of it, when you're, well above 100 miles an hour, that thing will continue to pull, that boost will continue to pull. And we got that machine to do about 124 miles an hour, if you believe these speedometers on these. Now, relative to what the regular VR1 was doing, at that point in time, the regular VR1 was doing, call it 110, if you believe these gauges. So it will pull on the top end of it. Let's go to some negatives. One of the other negatives I did not mention, maybe I didn't mention enough, was obviously we talked through all the different things that the Boost does, I think, wrong, or the VR1 does right. But the one I would say, would like to stress again, is that you're going to put extra stress on that motor. Why are you putting extra stress on that motor? Because you're obviously putting in more fuel and more air. It's going to be a higher pressure inside of that motor. Obviously, you're building some more horsepower. A lot of the components are the same. And it's really magical to me that you have a 2-year warranty versus a 4-year warranty, which is not great. And then you end up having more stress on the motor. So in the end, is the Boost the right machine or not? Well, it depends on your riding style. For me and for Mike, and we enjoy tight, twisty trails, we enjoy long trails as well. The majority of the day we find ourselves obviously in some twisties where you're not full throttle coming out of the turn. So we really never feel that we are lacking that much horsepower. When we're on a straightaway, maybe we're up in the UP, we're heading towards Copper Harbor, we're on 3, and we have it wound out and tapped out. Yeah, I mean, one 850 non-boosted sled doing essentially, call it 105 miles an hour or 108 miles an hour, versus the couple of areas you feel safe enough to do 115 versus 120 miles an hour. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if it's worth it at the end of the day. And there's not that many areas that are like that. If you are a lake racer or a lake rider and you like to have the high horsepower, the high speed, when you like to challenge your buddies and go across the lake and see how fast you can go, I do believe you should have the boosters, no doubt about it. I can't really speak enough about the downside of it. Just to go through it again real quick. You have a lack of storage underneath the seat. You need to put tools there because you're a Polaris rider. It's heavier for sure. It handles worse. It uses way more fuel. We ended up using, at one point in time when I was on it really, really hard, 2 gallons additional fuel versus Mike being on really, really hard. I still used 0.8 additional gallons of fuel in our fill up. And that's okay if you don't mind, if you live close to a gas station or if you're riding close to a gas station. We're putting on big miles between big areas, and ultimately we don't want to run out of fuel. I don't want to have to carry any fuel counting in the back of the machine in order to make sure that I make it. So you end up then riding different. You stay off the throttle. It's not a very good experience if you know that you have a far stretch. And really at 92 miles in the VR1 Boost, I actually ran out of fuel right across the street from the gas station, was able to keep it running enough. It was stuttering, going back and forth. I made it, and you got the low fuel pressure warning and everything, and I made it to the gas station, thank goodness, and just barely was able to go in and get fuel in the nick of time. So we talked about those, we talked about the warranty issue. And really going through the price difference really shocked me, and look back at the 2021 VR1 versus the 2023 Boost. Out the door price, exact same machines, except for one's Boost and one wasn't. There's essentially, it went from $16,000 to $23,800 of ultimately to get those machines out the door. That is almost an $8,000 difference from where we were in 2021. And if you look at where we're at in 2023, it's a $4,000 difference between the regular VR1 and the Boost. And honestly, that's $4,000. I just don't know if it's well spent. Finally, what I'll say is that yeah, it is cool. It looks good. The fit and finish is better. The gauge cluster is a little bit better on it. There's all those cool things. And yes, I actually do like how the machine looks. It's just for me, for my riding style, I just don't think that the extra weight, the extra stress on the motor, all the extra moving parts, all the extra things that will break on that machine are worth it for whatever horsepower gains you get out of it. It's really not there. Now, some of you guys may actually figure out how to go ahead and maybe use a computer and get way more power out of that boost. I'm sure some guys are out there tinkering with it now. That would be awesome to figure that out. Maybe if we gained another 30 horsepower on top of this, oh gosh, I know what you're thinking. The Polaris motor can't even handle 165, let alone taking this thing over 200. Yeah, I probably agree with you. Never mind that comment, we're not gonna do that. So, is the VR1 Boost for you? Nah, maybe it is. Depends on your riding style. For me, I will tell you honestly, I don't think you get the extra benefit. The horsepower is not worth it. There's too many drawbacks that come along with it, especially the storage and everything else we just mentioned. To be honest, I think that Polaris on some days is honestly trying to hurt me, trying to kill me. I know that I've been a Polaris rider for a while. We've gone back and forth. We tested the Skidoo Mach-C last year. You guys are aware of that. And we've been on these Polarises for quite some time. We've been on the Axis chassis and on the VR1 chassis. And look, we go out and flog these things and we give them a thorough review. And we're not brand loyal. Matter of fact, next year we're going to switch it up and give a real surprise. I can't wait to talk about that here in the next couple of weeks. But of course, with Polaris, we expect there's going to be some sort of big breakdown along the way. I took a real gamble. I took a chance. This past year, again, if we did the VR500, it's a charity ride. It's a 500 miles in a day ride. It was actually a really great event. You guys should take a look into it. It's something if you are a big distance snowmobiler, you can take a look into this event. It's for a great charity. This year the cause raised over $200,000, which was amazing. And we're really glad to be a part of that charity. And it's a real gamble to take a Polaris, a new Polaris especially, and go out and be on the trail and expect the thing, a newer Polaris, to make it 500 miles in a single day. I know I'm asking for a lot, especially on a new sled before you get all the gremlins out of it. And I will tell you, the things that we found afterwards were rather alarming. So it wasn't a brand new sled. I had 1,000 miles on it essentially, and then we did another 200 miles before the 500 mile ride day. And look, we're not lollygagging along. We're going fairly fast. I'm not going to deny that. We averaged about 43 miles per hour. It was, essentially then 521 miles, 43 miles per hour. And that's all in. That's including stops and everything else. It was a pretty good clip. And making it through that day, which we did, and the next day we went riding again. I started to find a number of things that were wrong with the sled. At first, we found that the brakes were completely gone at 2,000 miles. I don't know why or how the brakes disappear at 2,000 miles. I started to grab the brake. I could feel a little bit of fade at first, and the fade started to get worse, and I could feel I had to put a lot of pressure on the brake in order to get the machine to stop. And then I went ahead and pulled it over on the side of the trail and opened it up. And look, there had been one point in time before, a couple years ago, that Polaris had left the bleeder not a little bit loose on the machine, and it was kind of spitting out a little bit of fluid, and I was able to tighten that and get going again. In this case here, I took a look and the brake pads were actually gone. I don't understand what is going on with the compound of this or whether the calipers are hanging up a little bit, but at 2,000 miles to be through those set of brake pads is a little bit irritating. So then we limped the machine back into town and went and found a set of brake pads, which was complicated to do. Check your dealers, by the way. I don't think that there's an overabundance of these brake pads that are out there. Once we got the brake pads, we were able to pull the pin and pull the pads out. But getting those calipers to retract is really complicated to do. It took us, you should be able to push them back by hand, but these calipers are really try to wedge a screwdriver in there. Here I ended up buying a tool. We're going to try it next time that we had this. I bought the tool, I was able to make a modification to it. The modification was cutting off the back pin of this. And ultimately, we're going to try this tool. I'll show you a picture here what I got off Amazon. I think it really helped us out. But in exploring this and taking a look at the brake pad issue, we also noticed that the bolt that actually holds the caliper on was hand tight. It was loose, and so we backed that thing out, put it back in. And one may say, well, did that cause the brake issue? And I don't think that caused the brake pad issue. I think the brake pads are just wearing pretty quick on these things, and I don't know why just yet. Maybe players can help us out with that. The second thing that we found along the way, and this is, I guess I'll say is a little alarming. I was actually bragging to Mike and to Todd about how well the machine was doing and how well it was coming along. No issues whatsoever. I was really happy with the fit and finish. And then when I brought it home and started to take a look and do some maintenance, I found some other loose bolts on the machine. And the one that was most alarming was obviously the rear bolt that goes in and holds the whole track on, holds the whole skid in place. That goes into the suspension components of the back arm. And it was gone. It's completely gone. So it was gone. The little bushing inside of it was gone. And then that ended up causing the skid to cock a little bit sideways and that track to run a little bit off center, which then that track ended up hitting up inside the tunnel, and it ended up messing up a couple of bugs. And that is why that machine is back at Polaris today. It is at the dealership. Obviously, I was thinking at first I might just need to get a new bolt to go through there, but this is just really, it's unexcusable. I mean, how do you send a machine out there that has a very critical bolt, very critical component, and it's not there? So either it was loose to begin with and it fell out, or it broke off, and either which is just not acceptable for me. So when thinking about that, it's a very typical Polaris thing, is that these machines, when they're put together and you get all the gremlins out of them, they run awesome. They do fantastic. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. You don't get it. You don't get this thing running right out the gate. It doesn't come from factory. These machines don't come from factory without gremlins or problems with them. And so you gotta spend some time getting those worked out. Maybe it's that, maybe honestly Polaris is tired of these reviews and they pulled out that bolt on purpose. I have no idea. Polaris, please stop trying to kill us. We are out here trying to ride your sleds and give good reviews for you and really give you good recommendations how you can make these products better. Ultimately, though, some of the things that we're seeing again from Polaris for this year, it's just inexcusable. You can't have main bolts on the chassis coming out or breaking and being gone. And yeah, we're riders, we ride hard, we take these machines over 100 miles an hour, you guys do as well. Who wants that bolt to be gone? Who wants their rear skate to come flying out on them? It's not a good thing, Polaris, not at all. All right, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching. Please put your comments below for those of you guys out there that have a Boost as well. Please let me know your thoughts and sentiments on the Boost. And for us, I mean, for the type of riding that we do, it's just something that I wouldn't want to get into, especially for an additional $4,000 over the price of a regular VR1. Still a big VR1 fan. Maybe until next year. We got some cool things coming up from some other manufacturers. We'll see how Polaris answers. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching the channel. We'll see you again. We are not sponsored by anybody. However, if we were to be sponsored, I would want to be sponsored by KBC. That KBC beer is so good. Look at this one. Widowmaker, one of my personal favorites. Widowmaker. Oh, I know what you're thinking, Polaris. You're the real Widowmaker. Look at you. You're the one trying to kill us out there. Not this beer. This beer's good to us. You're bad. Very bad. No, no good. No bueno. Polaris Widowmaker. Coming in 2024. Sorry, spoiler alert. Before the snow check word gets out, it's going to be called the Polaris Widowmaker. I think. I don't know. That's just a rumor. Cheers.